So, about Kirby and the Forgotten Land. It's Kirby's first 3D adventure. You asked for a review on it, so I'm doing that.
The story's your typical Kirby fare. I have very little to say on it. I didn't dislike it, but again, it's a Kirby story. Kirby has to save the day, saves a bunch of people, defeats King Dedede, then there's another evil villain pulling the strings. Kirby defeats them and the day is saved. That is pretty much a plot summary for like 90% of Kirby games.
However, despite this being for Kirby's first proper 3D ROM, the level design is absolutely amazing. Genuinely, most hidden secrets you can find on your own, and I only struggled with a few, and the ones I did were more a problem I have with the art direction and the level design. Specifically the fact that a lot of objects look like they're part of the background, but are part of the foreground, or part of the actual gameplay, and vice versa. Basically, it's hard to tell if an object is just like an invisible wall or something you can interact with, or if it's just there for aesthetics. It's kind of hard to tell. But the game itself looks absolutely gorgeous, and came a long way from its debut trailer. As, I'll be blunt, initially it looked kinda cheap. But I think in gameplay, it looks really, really good. I really like it. And genuinely, this is a really fun Kirby game. There's so much to interact with. And the level design, again, I will keep saying this. There is very few secrets or Easter eggs that are hard to find. There are ones that are hard to find, but nothing is really hidden. There's always something to hint at you that it's there. Like a small sparkle on an object, or an object being slightly out of place. There is always something to hint you in the right direction, and you're never gonna get lost, because, well, it doesn't require to beat the game. And there's one thing lastly, regarding level design. It's a really weird mix of linearity and open world gameplay. The levels themselves are linear, like Mario 3D World, but they still are quite open, like Mario 64. It's a really good mix, and I really like it. And one of my biggest complaints with the level design is the fact there's no backtracking. Once you enter an area, there's no going back. You can't go back from whence you came. And if we had another 3D Kirby game in this style, which I hope we do because this game was great, I'm just saying that now, I hope we can go backwards. But I think it's time to talk about the copy abilities. I'll be blunt, they're kind of disappointing. I knew going into this that there was not going to be even close to the amount that were in Star Allies, where copy abilities Kirby can use, there's nearly 40 of them, and there's well over 40 if you include Dream Friends. Now, it's just disappointing because in reality, there's 12 copy abilities plus Waddle Dee, so 13. But here's the thing. 2 of which are Crash and Sleep. So in reality, you're left with 10 copy abilities plus Waddle Dee. Do I think 12 is a bad number? No. And do I regret any of the ones they brought along? No. All the new copy abilities are really fun, and I enjoy every single one. But it feels weird not having Rock, as well as having, in a game with so little copy abilities, Spear fully programmed and at the ready, and just isn't there. Like, I understand you guys want to make Spear Bandana Waddle Dee's signature or whatever, but like, you guys programmed 12 copy abilities that are usable by Kirby, 10 of which are actual abilities. No offense to the flashy screen clear or the glorified obstacle, but I don't really count them as copy abilities, more as special flair or a really fun obstacle, because I actually do enjoy Sleep's use, but yeah, the problem is more you get very little when there is a little more programmed. Now, I fully understand why. Evidently, you know, this is Kirby's first 3D outing. You only get 10 abilities. You get what you get. I knew going in there's probably only be around at most 15. Like, I knew going in, absolute most, we're getting 15 copy abilities. Again, Star Allies has nearly 40. So, frankly, I understand, but it is still a gripe. Now, Mouthful Mode. This game's gimmick and the attempt to make up for the lack of copy abilities. It sure is a gimmick. I have nothing else to say on it. It exists. Like, half of them are fun to use in 1 or 2 sections, but there are others that just are boring. Light bulb, vending machine, suck. Water balloon was fun the first time, but it got used way too much. Car, specifically in World 3, was used amazingly. I really enjoy it there. Traffic cone, honestly not that bad. It's probably my favorite, but it's also by far the one that controls the most traditionally, so it's more, once again, glorified gimmick that it's needed to be shoehorned into a Kirby game at all costs. Again, there's a few I like, and a few are either utterly pointless or just stupid. Light bulb sucks. It is a waste. But overall, it's fine. Now, I'm gonna say this. I 100%ed this game, and some of the objectives and sub-games are awful. First off, hit listing every boss. I have no problem with this being in the game. But frankly, some of the bosses I don't think tend that well to it. Especially since I don't think any of them were designed around it. For example, I really hated Silly Dillo, because he was annoying. And I could easily get through like the first phase or second phase, and then one mess up resets you the whole thing, and it's more, I wish there was an easier way to reset or retry it. For example, once you beat the boss, it then gives you the option to play with 1 health and just immediately plops you in front of the boss with a selected copy ability, and then you can easily restart instead of having to, I got hit, exit level, enter level again, grab your copy ability, walk through the boss arena, skip the cutscene, and fight the boss. And pray you win this time. It's fine for a few, but specifically the bosses with either longer arenas or that are a lot tougher are annoying. Now yes, I could have just waited for the post-game and used my super powerful endgame abilities like Masked Hammer, but what's the fun in that? Secondly, Kirby Tilt and Roll. Yeah, how do I say this? Kirby Tilt and Roll is the worst thing to come out of HAL Laboratories ever. It is awful. Or actually, level 1 and 2 are fine. Level 3 is the spawn of hell. And then you have to do them again with less room for error and enemies. I have no problem with difficulty in games. My problem with hitlisting the bosses is it's more annoying to get back to the boss than it is hitless them. In fact, for the hitless achievement against Twin Frosties, I found it really annoying as my strategy allowed me the ability to not attack in the entire stage leading up to that boss, which meant I basically had to run around as a chicken while Bandana D covered my butt. So, yeah. It sucks. Also, apparently the co-op camera's awful. I don't know, I was player 1, but according to my co-op partner, they could barely tell where they were 90% of the time. But I will say this game is beautiful, all the characters look so freaking cute, and despite me being annoyingly skeptical of Elflin for like 90% of the game, what am I kidding? I was skeptical of her until literally after the final boss. But that's more, I have been burned too many times by Kirby. I would probably buy a plush of her. She's pretty cute. Also, I don't know Elflin's gender. It looks feminine. Given, I think, human brains associate most cute things with femininity. I don't know. Whatever. I like Elflin. But, basically, closing thoughts. Game good. Has a few problems. But this was Kirby's first 3D outing, and definitely better than Star Allies. Star Allies is good, it just struggles from being ridiculously short. And being the 4th game in its style. In the span of 7 years. Yeah, Kirby Return to Dreamland through Star Allies, released 7 years. That was 4 games that all played nearly identical. So, basically, my gripes can be summarized with either Kirby tilt and roll or it's the first 3D outing. I understand. The game, while still being short, was actually quite bulky for a Kirby game. Given I did 100% it, but, I mean, it's basically 7 worlds. I think it's a pretty good game. And frankly, I'm gonna say this much, the final boss fight is really fun. Like, I really enjoy the final boss. I am not going to show it or say much on it, but it kind of reminds me of a Platinum Games boss. Like a more mid-game boss than a final boss, but Platinum are one of my favorite developers, so just being compared to a Platinum boss is pretty good. But yeah, I really like the game, it's really cute. It's a really good Kirby romp. Given, I don't really think Kirby's had a bad game. The worst game in the series in my opinion is the first one, but also, it's still really good for its time. It just does not hold up. In my opinion, the worst Kirby game, if we're counting for release times, is Star Allies, but that's also partially because it came with fatigue. Because again, 4th game in 7 years that played the exact same as the previous 3. I could probably do a ranking video on Kirby. And I don't dislike a single game. Some just either don't hold up that well, or which I'm fine with because obviously they were really impressive or really good for their time. It's just a lot of games end up being kind of pathetic. But I really enjoyed this game. What did you guys think? And did you enjoy the style of review? I don't know.